the GIDA matter, we're hoping that today we can just focus briefly, the little time we have, on the tree planting exercise. On the tree planting exercise and how useful or unuseful that was. And we're looking at the report that was authored by the UDS, University of Development Studies, that suggested that the trees that were planted, that's 32.4 million Ghana cedis that was sunk into that project, that the trees had about 85 to 88% survival rates. And so some of the reports that we are seeing or hearing today may not be exactly correct about the situation. This is your pet subject. Tell me, what do you make of that report vis-a-vis what you are hearing, particularly from Joy FM, being led by Manasseh Azurewuni?
I think that it's not just the report alone. I think that if you look at the whole Sada problem, it is not a good story to tell. And it's not just about the tree planting. The whole Sada story is not a good story to tell.
Perhaps that's why the president has brought in a new board.
But just merely bringing the new board doesn't solve the problem. In fact, you would rather let the new board have the problem or be confronted with the problem of the old board. I'll give you one example. Sada, money was raised for Sada through what we call a bond in 2012. Just the beginning of 2012, around somewhere March, around this time, they raised a bond of 200 million.
Right.
What they did was to disburse to Sada 165 million at that time. They raised a privately placed bond led by UBA, and then they disbursed to Sada 165 million. As we sit today, the Ministry of Finance has not disbursed that 35 million to Sada. As we sit today. So Dufour's Ministry of Finance has questions to answer. That Sada's 35 million is locked up at the Ministry of Finance and they have not given them that money. And nobody knows what they have done with that money. Whether they use the money for something else, whether somebody has taken the money. We are yet to find out where.
So that's your suspicion when you say Dufour's regime has questions to answer?
Dufour's regime has questions to answer with the 35 million. They need to come out publicly to tell us what they did with that 35 million. Because you don't use Sada's name to raise 200 million, you give them 165 million, and the 35 million is missing. They need to tell us where that money is. Because the people of Ghana are now to pay 16.75% in terms of interest. And in this year, because it's a three-year bond, and we have to start paying this year. Okay? So we need to find out where that 35 million went. Now let's come to the trees. I think that the UDS report didn't do Sada any good at all. If anything, it has worsened what has happened.
Just clear that bit for me. And government is supposed to be in a continuum. So not exactly Dufour's regime. But the
current ministry, yes, they need to come out and tell us where that 35 million has gone. Because let me read what they reported to Parliament. They said that the facility is a privately placed bond for 200 million for Sada to be used as seed money to attract further investment to the Sada area. The terms are as follows: coupon rate 14.5 plus 2.75 margin, structuring fee 1.25%. Let's leave that one out. A consortium of banks led by UBA did that. So they raised the 200 million for that. An amount of 165
that was supposed to be the seed capital
for Sada. You know, we have been asking where's the seed capital, where's the seed capital. So by 2000, when it was an election year, they decided to do it. Now they say an amount of 165 million has been disbursed under the facility to the Sada account at Bank of Ghana after a 3-year bond certificate was issued and duly registered at the Central Securities Depository. The remaining 35 million is yet to be disbursed. As we say today, that one has never been disbursed. So we are asking the Ministry of Finance to come clean on that 35 million because it's Sada money. And whether it has attracted interest or what, we are looking for that money. That's the first part of my argument. The second part is, how did Sada officials spend the 165 million? Remember that in that budget, they gave Sada another 25 million. So if you add 25 plus 165, it was 190 million. What did they do? They took 75 million and gave it to, opened an account and put that money there, sitting in this bank, the one led by Alas Andani, Stanbic Bank. They put that money, so 75 million is sitting in that account. Sada has not done anything. I don't know whether it's investment or whatever, but it's sitting down there. Remember Alassane Dane? Call account. Remember Alassane Dane was the board chairman for Sada. At the same time, Alassane Dane was a board chairman for RLG Foundation. And I'm coming to why I brought Alassane Dane being the board chairman for Sada, at the same time board chairman for RLG Foundation. Most of the remaining money, because 75, if you take a 75 from 195, most of the remaining money was disbursed to the RLG family. That is the problem that we have. Now let's go to the tree planting. The 33 million that was done.
What you're saying is a fact.
It is a fact.
Now you're bringing a new twist to this whole board chairman and manager of Stanbic Bank issue by saying that he was the what for RLG
the RLG Foundation. He is board chairman for the RLG Foundation.
During the launch, who was chairman of the Sada board,
was the same chairman for RLG Foundation.
I see.
And the RLG company group, the RLG and subsidiary of the RLG won the 33 million for the Sada trace, and there's controversy as to whether for 5 million. This is the agreement.
And what's your problem with that?
My problem is that it is not right. Serious conflict of interest.
You are insinuating
and then
that
75 million is sitting in his bank
because he was on the RLG Foundation and the board chairman for Sada. He ensured that a lot of the money was pushed to RLG. Is that what you're saying?
I think that is it. And then the other 75 million. It's not speculate. It is the truth. And the other one is 75 million is sitting in his bank, where he's the managing director. Let me give an example. The contract was signed on the 5th of June 2012 to plant trees. 5th of June 2012 to plant trees. RLG was to plant 5 million trees.
Right.
The company called
Precision. It's not RAG.
ACI company.
CL company.
Yeah.
It's a subsidiary of the Agams Group.
I just wanted you to be precise.
Thank you. They were to plant 5 million trees.
That's correct.
That was the contract, and it was a 1-year contract. That was the original mistake. You don't plant trees and give somebody a 1-year contract, and they say it was a rolling contract at 32.45 million Ghana cedi. Plant 5 million trees. What they did was they released all the money by November to him, to that company, to plant the trees. You should remember that November, it is dry season in the north. So if you do not have source of water to water the trees, you are just killing the trees. So once we started planting, once they released the money in November and they started planting the trees, it was complete failure. By April of 2013, when they came to Parliament to defend it, they said most of the trees had died because of bushfire. And of course, there was no water also to water the trees. And we said, no, this cannot be. First, we have to release.
You said by November.
Yes.
Of 2012.
Yes.
They had come to say most of the trees had died.
No. They released the money. They signed the contract in June.
Okay.
November, they paid all the money to him, the 32.5 million. To him.
I was asking that because the report, which is December 2013.
I'm giving the sequence.
Tells you about
it was in April.
The survival rate.
April when they came to when the NDC had been declared the winners of the election, they needed to bring a new budget in April. So when they came to April, they said the trees had died because of bushfires. Then when we started asking questions, the UDS set up Sada set up UDS to do this report. And by last year, December, this report was ready. Now let's interrogate this report and see whether this report confirms or not.
You'll be very brief with it.
Very brief. This report says that they had visited, Sada sites were 149, and that they had divided the Sada sites into 4 zones.
That's correct.
The central zone, the northern zone, the eastern zone, and the western zone. And when you add up all the acreages, the acreage, that's the hectares, you will get 638.45 hectares. That's what was marked. And they said 85%. Unfortunately, the report has never told us how many trees were planted. So the 85 is a vague figure. In fact, it's not a figure we should consider. Because it must be 85% of a certain number. What I did was to look at the hectares that they claimed that Sada had planted. Okay? And then just suppose and find out then how many trees were planted. For a hectare, if you plant a hectare, for a hectare, you plant between 1,000 and 1,200 trees. In fact, if you plant 1,200 trees, you have chopped the whole area. They may not grow well. The best is 1,000 and 1,100. If you multiply the apex, which is suppose they overpopulated the area, if you multiply 1,200 by 638.45, you will get 766,140 trees. You have been asked to plant 5 million trees. UDS report is talking about 766,140 trees, and you say 85% has survived. You have more questions to answer. You have not even talked about 1 million trees.
But that's the reason. That's the reason upon the release of this report. Is this not the report that was released and UDS, or is it Sada asked that it should
Sada
be
said the soil was too true. He said this report was too sweet to be true, so they should go back and do another work and come, because they cannot tell them, because we are all in the north and we all know that the trees have not survived. We all know that.
Okay.
You can ask them. They come and tell in his area whether the area in Brussels the trees have survived. He knows it. You see, Sada, I'm telling you that is the problem that we have.
He's asking a question directly.
I'm saying that, did Sada plant did the company plant the 5 million trees or not? You have
for which they were giving all the money. Right.
That's all that we want to find out.
In your constituency, you are a beneficiary of this project. He's saying that...
Let me make a confession that I have not done an audit of the rate of survival of trees.
What have your constituents been telling you about it?
Oh, well, quite naturally there are problems, there are issues. I mean, I have to admit some of the people who took part in the tree planting exercise have actually come up to complain that they are yet to be paid. Part of their money was paid, but there are some, I mean, outstanding...
Even though the trees are dead?
Well, as I said, I have not done an audit of the rate of survival, and therefore I'm not in a position. I don't want to you know, make a statement on a matter that I am not privy to. But all said and done, the report is out. Honorable Nituwu has done some analysis and thinks that the report is flawed. For me as a person, what is important is that the president has reconstituted the Sada board. It is my expectation that the new board will take up the mantle and order for an audit to be carried out, so that we would all know how many trees were actually planted, what the rate of survival was, etc., so that the questions that beg for answers would all, I mean, have those answers. And if there is evidence that there was some malfeasance, I know this president is not going to shield anybody from going through the due process. Nobody is going to be shielded, but not until then. Let us give some of the institutions the benefit of the doubt. As Dominic rightly pointed out, the Sada itself had a problem with this report and asked that the report be reviewed or a second look be taken. That is a step in the right direction.
The interesting thing, though, is that these reports have come to Parliament. They are with the Finance Committee members and all of that, and it took a media house to do a more effective accountability process.
He is a member of the Finance Committee.
That's what I'm saying.
I wanted to make a last point.
They have been accused of being very less effective at
I want to make a last point here
of Sada.
Yeah, so he is here. I'm not a member of the Finance Committee, but of course, as Parliament, we are collectively responsible. I'm sure they were deliberating on it. But having said that, you see, Dominic talked about something. He sort of finger, I mean, Mr. Alassane Andani.
Right.
He says Alassane Andani is the MD of Stanbic Bank. He
corrected himself there when he initially said his bank, because, I mean, it's
correct.
not his bank.
Correct.
Right.
Alassane Andani is an employee,
right,
of Stanbic Bank. He was hired by Stanbic Bank. He can be fired today, he can be fired tomorrow. Now, I mean, he has a problem with the investment of 75 million Ghana cedis, which is Sada money, with Stanbic Bank. So, I mean, you rightly pointed out that the money sits in a call account. Nobody has suggested that that money has been squandered.
The bank says the money is there.
The money is there. If Sada needs the money, they can call for the money. So, let's not jump into any hasty conclusion. To the extent that Alassane Andani himself is an employee of Stanbic Bank.
His suspicion was that
a lot
of the contract went to the group that belongs to the Agams group. And he also said that Alassane Adani is on the RLG Foundation, and at the same time,
well, I don't want to hold.
Chairman,
I don't want to hold forth. I don't want to hold forth for anybody, but I believe they went through.
I do not know that for a fact.
No, that's a fact. I was at the lunch.
I'm saying I do not know that for a fact.
Yeah,
you are saying it's
I
a
was
fact,
at the
right?
lunch.
But prospective contractors must have gone through some bidding process.
It was,
and therefore,
it was sole sourcing. There was no bidding process.
Oh, okay, well, if it was sole sourcing and Agam's group won that contract, I don't want to go into that. I am more interested in particular about the suggestion that Alassane Adani may have conflicted himself.
Can you proceed to look at it this way? Because we don't have time. The president has constituted a new board.
That's right.
What are expectations?
My expectations are that with all the, issues arising out of the UDS report, the board should take it upon themselves, order a fresh audit to be carried out. So that
fresh audit?
Of course, so that we know. Yes,
right.
Yes. Because clearly, Sada itself had issues with the UDS report, if that is anything to go by.
Said they asked them to go back and redo it, this time speaking to figures, because they didn't do figures. Yeah.
So if that is done and the new board finds the new report which would be delivered to them satisfactory, we can take up the discussion from that point. So the board must clearly do some work in relation to the UDS report so that we all know where we stand.
Okay.
But for now, I think it's premature for us to start talking about malfeasance. We have only faulted the report, so let them do the writing, review the report, and if after they have done that, we think that there is some malfeasance, we can talk about it from that point onwards.
So let me hear Abdul Malik briefly on this. He's marked, annotated the report.
I'm not sure. Last week, I brought the draft final report here, and I indicated it was draft final report.
Yeah.
What I have today, put together, is the final report.
Okay. Which is the December 2013 report.
Both dated December 2013. The draft report was not rejected by Sada. There's no such evidence. They said there was the missing link in terms of number of trees.
Correct.
So go back, do that exercise, and consolidate it. Now, this final report, when you go to page 44 of it, the final report has 103 pages because they added now the list of trees with locations, everything. But the draft final report is 83 or so pages. Now let me read page 44. Plantation sites that were not surveyed, because they start talking of having surveyed 145 plantation sites in 62 administrative districts. Then this is the missing link that Sada asked them to go and bring back. They say a total of 138 plantation sites were not visited by the team.
Right.
Their acreages and estimated number of trees planted and their survival are illustrated in table 13 below. The extrapolated total acreage was 499.9 hectares, which is approximately 44% of the estimated value. Further, the total number of survived seedlings was 452,676, which is about 82% of the estimated planted seedlings. Now, this is important. Paragraph 3.7. Number of seedlings planted and their survivor. The total numbers of seedlings planted within the program area was assessed to be 262,207, out of which 1,029,522 survived. It was purported in our contract document that 5 million seedlings had been planted. However, our study indicated a shortfall of about 3.7 million seedlings. This difference may be accounted for partly by the beating up (brackets replanting of dead seedlings) of the 2012 planting and all unplanted seedlings which were observed during our survey, plate 13B. This is the final report.
Right.
And this is what it says. I think last week we agreed on a certain principle here, that if you give a contract to a contractor and the contract was executed not to the terms of the contract, you had two options. One, the contractor is made to do the job to the terms, or two is to refund the monies that had been given to him.
Right.
Otherwise, of course, legal action is another option. That's the kind of agreement we came to here. But I made it very clear that I was not out, and I've been subjected to serious character attacks, assassination, all over the place. I made it very clear here that what Joy News had put out was not fabricated, neither was it manufactured, if you recall.
Right,
and that it represented a true picture of what had been done by a journalist. I am told that I'm being accused of having been given concocted documents to use. Listen, I've been in this game for a very long time.
I remember my comment when you looked at that document. I said what you may be holding could be Pasco.
Yes,
so that what we have now is
but now I have the final document here.
You
see,
something.
let me
so
finish.
let me just
let me finish.
Dr. Emmanuel Aberi Inga, Director Integrated Development Project, who was employed February 2013, was in the studio here 2 days ago with me. He said that the final report is not ready.
Please, what is this?
I've sent it. I've sent final report.
What is this? So that's not my problem.
Right.
My point is this. Look, I think UDS is also a credible institution. The Authority for Renewable Natural Resources is also a credible institution. I do not think it's fair to the integrity of that institution for people to claim that this is a bought or a procured report. It's unfair.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, you have hopes, and forgive the way I put it, that the new board will resurrect the dead trees.
Well, some of the trees died, some withered away, but I'm not sure you are telling me that the whole 1-point-something million trees are dead.
Well,
do you have that evidence?
As we speak, we know factually that the workers are not on the ground. And
when did the workers leave the ground? Your own report last week, there was one coordinator who said that, look, we planted 4,000 trees. By October, we had laid off the workers. There's nobody here to protect the trees. So animals had come to graze on. That was in your own report.
Right. Now briefly, maybe just some minute or two, what do you have to say?
But it's a sad story. And if you look at the whole scenario, you see the institutions and the individuals.
People like Professor Karkari says that the big people from the north have disappointed.
I agree with you.
Their own people in the country at large.
I do not think that there is any other way to look at it, and I do not think that we have been fair to the people. I mean, looking at the institutions that have been involved and the quality of work that we have produced. So let's see what the next board will do.
What do you want them to do?
Of course, to change the mess. I mean, what else can anybody be looking out for?
Okay, thank you very much. This has been News File. We came to you live from the Multi-TV studios. This is your Joy News channel, and you have been listening also on Joy 99.7 FM and over a dozen affiliate stations across the country. Joseph Edusa says something. My expectation is that all projects, not only the trees, that have been executed under Sada should be audited, and if there are accountability issues, people must answer. Right, that's what the Deputy Minister also suggested. Now,